and even though you might have been in a war zone for a year or 2 years, or there are some people I know who've had actually up to 3 or 4 tours in a war zone, and have gotten used to having weapons in their possession 24 hours a day, or most of the day, every day for a long period of time. And you have to change that mindset when you come in. But for the most part, it's been my experience that people who serve in the military bring to the civilian world a certain amount of discipline that they've gained in the military. That's one thing about the military I do know and I appreciate, and that teaching you a certain amount of discipline. I learned a lot of discipline from the military and from military academy. I think that augmented the discipline that I learned while at home. But I think that's the main thing. I think people, there are differences with regard to how people handle themselves, and I think there's a big difference with regard to the discipline that's taught. So it's a benefit, I think, with regard to discipline.
Another issue, the voting rights. Why is that so important that we, as citizens, get out and vote?
Well, if you lose your right to vote, or you don't take advantage of the right to vote, then you start losing your voice. And if you lose your voice, then you start losing other rights. Now, we know back in June of 2013, last year, the U.S. Supreme Court issued an opinion in a case called Shelby County versus Holder, a case out of Alabama, right outside of Birmingham. And what the Supreme Court did basically was take the position, a rule that Section 4 of the 1965 Voting Rights Act was no longer applicable, given that nearly 50 years has passed and demographics have changed. And many people say what they did was they gutted the 1965 Voting Rights Act, because as soon as that decision was handed down, you had a lot of states around the country move very, very quickly. Their legislatures moved very quickly to change the voting rights laws. Now, I don't think it's any surprise to anybody that North Carolina right now has the most regressive voting rights laws, and some people might say voter suppression laws, but North Carolina has the most regressive voting rights laws in the entire country. At one point, North Carolina was looked at as the beacon of the South, where a lot of people wanted to go. They said, if I'm going to move south or travel south, I want to go to North Carolina. It's a place of hope. It's a shining example of what can happen if people sacrifice, work hard, and pull their weight together. But given that North Carolina has changed its voting rights laws, people aren't so sure anymore. Well, that combined with some other things that have happened here in North Carolina, such as turning away federal dollars that could have been used to expand Medicaid for other families, other people who qualify to take advantage of Medicaid benefits. Turning away federal dollars that could be used to provide much needed money to people who are unemployed, trying to get back on their feet. Given these things and many others that I could sit here and name, North Carolina isn't seen by non-North Carolinians the same way it has been seen for many years. And I think what we need to do is we need to work together, we need to pull together and work hard and get North Carolina back to the place that it once was.
Why is it so important that we use that early voting when we trying to voice our opinions?
Well, early voting is really important. And let me point out, I won't go through all the changes that have been made to the North Carolina laws, but I will point out that the number of early voting days was shortened by a week. It used to be 17 days, now it's only 10 days. High school kids, when they get their driver's license at 16 or 17, could pre-register in the past to vote. They can't do that now. And you have fewer people who actually move forward after turning 18 who vote, who are registered to vote and actually vote. Used to have here in North Carolina what we call souls to the polls. People would go to church on Sundays and they'd get advice. Hey, don't forget you've got to vote. It's early voting. Sunday, go out and vote. And people would leave church and go vote. Even people who weren't registered. You see, because you could register and vote on the same day. So you could leave church on a Sunday afternoon, go to a polling place, register, and vote. You can't do that now. Not only can you not register and vote on the same day, you can't vote on Sundays anymore. That's no longer a possibility. In addition to that, you have to vote in your precinct. If you don't vote in your precinct, your vote doesn't count. There are a lot of things that have happened to change the voting right laws here in North Carolina, but people must take advantage, getting back to your question, people must take advantage of early voting. Because if you wait to the last minute, a lot of times people can't vote. Things come up, people work, they might not get off work, there could be a problem with traffic, you could end up having a family member get sick. There are a multitude of reasons that people should take advantage of early voting. I think that people need to understand that it used to be 17 days, now it's only 10 days, so you have fewer days actually to take advantage of early voting. And studies have shown that early voting impacts minorities and the working class more so than anybody else, because minorities and working class tend to work more and have other responsibilities that might prevent them from getting out on the primary date or the voting date. So they take advantage of those early voting days. If you've got a kid in nursery and you're a single parent, you might have to go pick up your child and you might not get a chance to vote. If you've got to work long hours on a full-time, perhaps even a part-time job, you might not have an opportunity to vote on voting day. Like I said before, if some sort of emergency comes up or someone gets sick, you might not have a chance to vote. So I think it's really, really important to take advantage of those early voting days. You've got to get out and vote early. It's really important.
When you hear an individual say, I'm not going to vote, I don't think my vote will count, what do you say to them?
Well, I tell them they're wrong. I say every vote counts. If you look back at some of the elections that have taken place, presidential elections, you'll see that every single vote counts.
Right.
I tell people you've got to take advantage of the right to vote. Here in North Carolina, if you're an ex-felon, you can vote. If you've served your time, you served your debt to society, you can vote. You regain your right to vote. Now, let me say this. Given all the things that have happened here in North Carolina over the past several years with the stalemate that's going on, the laws that have been changed, in my opinion, not to the benefit of North Carolina and North Carolinians, North Carolina's changing. The country's changing. A lot of the hard-fought battles that were waged over the years by generations before me to win certain benefits for people across the board, everybody, are being turned over. They're being turned around. People don't realize it, but the state is changing. It's changing very, very quickly before everyone's eyes. And the people who will be most impacted, I think, are people, a lot of times, who are less likely to vote. What I don't want to happen is people wake up 5 years from now and say, oh my gosh, what has happened? This place is not the place that I grew up in. This place is not the place that I knew. And that could happen if people don't take advantage of the right to vote. If you don't vote, you don't have a voice. And when bad things happen as a result of people not voting, then I don't really think they're in a position to complain about it. You've got to take advantage of the right to vote. It's your voice. It's your opinion with regard to what should happen and what can happen. So I tell people, if you can vote, take advantage of it, go vote.
I know you said you were raised by your mother. What impact has that brought into your life even today?
Oh, a lot. I talk about my mom all the time. She had a lot of sayings, and I repeat a lot of them, such as, you can't have flowers without the rain. A lot of times it rains, people complain about the rain. And I tell people, hey, you can't have flowers without the rain. That's something my mom used to always say. People sometimes, complain about getting older in life. Each birthday is another year and you're getting older. My mom would always say, well, either you're getting older or you're dead, one of the two. And if you look at those two things, those two options, you say, well, I think I'd rather be getting a little older. Okay. My mom taught me discipline. My mom was a strict disciplinarian. When I messed up, she spanked me. She whipped me. And, I had a rambunctious spirit, and my mom was that disciplinarian who taught me right from wrong. Whenever I stepped out of line, she was there to put me right back in line. My mom checked me. I tell you, I'll give you one example of that. When I was in the first grade, I was getting adjusted in first grade, and I got upset about something. And I remember doing something, and my mom, when I looked up, was there at the school. And she didn't spank me there at school. She took me home. and she spanked me, and she spanked me well, and I never forgot that. And that taught me that regardless of where I was, and regardless of where my mother was, because she worked at the time, she was working retail, my mom would leave her job and come to that school and discipline me, seriously discipline me. I learned that early on, and I'll tell you after that incident, she didn't have many more issues. But I love my mom. I think that parents have a responsibility to discipline their children, to guide their children, to love their children. My mom did all of those things. She was always in my corner. When I do well in school, she always supported me. She always made me feel good. She was always proud. Always, I would hear her telling people, how well I do in school and how well I did in sports. And it just made me feel good. It made me work that much harder. It made me work that much harder in sports that I played. It made me work that much harder academically. But I think my mom, I credit her for a lot of my success because she was always there, and whatever she could do to benefit me, to help me along life's journey, she would do. And what I have in life, I owe to my mom for the most part.
If I was interviewing your mother right now, what would she say to our viewing audience about why they should support her son, Curtis Osborne?
That's a good question. Now, I don't know exactly what my mom would say, but I'll tell you what I think she might say. I think she might say that Curtis is a person who's driven and that he cares for people. He's always cared for people. And he puts his mind to something, he's probably going to accomplish it. He'll do everything within his power. He'll work his heart out to accomplish it. And if his responsibility includes looking out for the people of the 12th Congressional District, which it would if I became the representative in this area, then he'll do everything and anything within his spirit, within his power, to make sure that the people of the 12th Congressional District are taken care of.
How has this travel, this campaign, been so far for yourself? I know
I tell you what, the last 11 months have been an eye-opener. It's been an experience. It has. This experience of running for Congress has completely changed my life. It's changed my outlook on life. I tell you, the biggest thing that I've enjoyed is meeting people. I love people. I've always loved people. Even when I was a small kid, my mom would have to pull me away from asking people questions. We'd go out in public, and I'd always ask questions. Who are you, and where are you from, and where did you get that, and why are you wearing that, and why do you sound that way? And I enjoy people. I love people. I have an opportunity to go to lots of events. I've lost track of the number of events I've gone to, the number of churches I've visited. But I've gotten a chance to meet lots of people from all walks of life, from different backgrounds, and I just really enjoy people. So getting a chance to meet lots of different people from different walks of life has been great. Getting to know myself, understanding my strengths and limitations has been great. I've loved it.
We're running short of time. If someone wanted to get in contact with you, how would they do that?
Well, with regard to the campaign, they go to www.osborne4congress.com. Osborne4congress.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have Curtis Osborne. He's running for North Carolina 12th Congressional District seat. Get out and vote. You have a good day. Be encouraged.
I appreciate it.